Well, the folks over at Mech DIY sent me a new toy to play with. They sent me a brick. Yep, that's right. They sent me the new TrimUI Brick. Well, it's more like this brick, which we're going to unbox today and take a quick first look at the TrimUI Brick. Let's start with what we always start with, which is an unboxing of this really exciting little device. And might I say, this thing is heavy. I mean, it kind of feels like a brick right now. So let's look around the box here. We've seen this information here. You see it comes in multiple colors. I chose, and I think this is highly appropriate. If you're getting a brick, shouldn't you really get it in red? It's not really a brick red, but it's red. It's close enough. It works for me. So on the bottom here, you see we have fast boot, 3.2-inch IPS LCD. Really looking forward to trying that. WLAN versus mode, so you can play against each other. Also, stereo speaker. Now, that'll be interesting to see how that works. And not many games, especially older games that I look at, 8-bit games were stereo, so that's not really important to me, but decent quality sound is important. And of course, Type-C USB for charging. And I guess I'm assuming data exchange. We'll find that out as we get in here. So we'll look on the back here. Oop, wrong way here. Some additional information. Oh, RGB lighting effect, metal back shell. Now that's probably what's giving it a little bit of heft, unless it's aluminum. If it's aluminum, it wouldn't give you too much heft, but it is nice to see that kind of premium quality material. RGB lighting effect we talked about. Extra L-right keycaps. Interesting. I'm not sure what that means. We'll see that. And then easy disassembly. I guess you might want to take this apart. All right, let's open this bad boy up. Here's our instruction manual right here. So how to switch views, how to search game. We'll obviously take a look at that when we turn it on. How to best add games and thumbnails. Good information there. Take a look at that. How to start net play with other people. There you go. Make SD card content. That's interesting. Your function key. So just some basic information there to get you started. Here's the device itself, it looks like. Looks like it's got a protective cover on it. Let's save that for just a minute. Let's go ahead and dig in, see what else we get in here. Oh, here's our SD card, all full of goodness. And I love that they use SanDisk Ultra. They don't skimp on the SD card. This is a 256 gigabyte. So there should be a lot of games on here. What else do we have? These are those left-right keycap that we get that are included. I'm not sure what the difference is. It looks like they're different in shape. And of course, we have our trusty old USB-C cable. Yeah, we'll just leave that in. It's not like I need another USB-C cable. All right, let's take a look at the brick. Every time I say that, I think of brick house. Ooh, this is beautiful. Look at this. So the case here, metal, this is plastic right here. And you can see there are, in fact, screws for easy disassembly. They're not trying to hide anything. You can get in this thing. Now, I will not be breaking this down. Okay, pull this off. This is the little spongy thing to protect it. Very nice. Oh, very nice. You know, I'm not typically a fan, as I've mentioned, of this Game Boy kind of form factor because it tends to hurt my hands. I like to have them spread out a little bit more, but just in comparison, show you the difference here. Here's the Smart Pro. Here's this one. You can see the difference again, 16:9 aspect ratio screen compared to a 4:3. But again, if you're playing retro games, you typically get a screen background to fill the rest of it, unless you're playing some more modern games like the PS1 or maybe a PlayStation Portable. The other thing we're going to be missing, of course, is the analog controls. Looks like we've just got our D-pad controls here, which will limit some of your gameplay for some titles. But again, I'm looking at mostly older games that didn't actually require analog controllers. Looks like we got a little screen protector. Let's go ahead and get that off. Here we go. It's official. It's mine. We've got our controls, our menu controls, select, start, those types of things. We got our A, B, X, and Y buttons here. Got some, oh, those are buttons. Those are actually buttons, so those will be used, but it looks like there might be LEDs behind that for some of that LED goodness that they talked about. Looks like we have volume controls here and here. Looks like we have our on and off here. Here is our SD card slot here. Not quite sure what that little R reset, that's what that will be. Okay. Then we have our USB-C. Is that a microphone? Yes, in fact, that is a microphone. Look at that. And then, of course, we have a headphone jack. Okay, let's go ahead and insert our SD card. Now, again, what I love about Mech DIY is they go ahead and prepare this SD card for you. They load it up with the operating system, with the user interface, and generally many different ROMs. And it looks like it's not going to be, it's always upside down. What is it about SD card slots always being upside down? And it is a click, so if you click, again, it will release it, but you're going to have to be careful or it will fly out of there. Let's go ahead and fire it up and take a quick look at it. There we go, the Surwish user interface or software. CrossMix OS version 1.3.9, there we go, loads. Now it will take a little bit of time for that first boot. That looks pretty good. I'm going to change some lighting here just a minute. So that startup music is pretty cool and haunting, but let's go ahead and let's turn that down a little bit. I do like the screen. It's got very good view angles on it. Check that out. Wow, this is beautiful. I have to tell you, so far, pretty impressed. There's my favorite Atari 2600. Look at that. You get not only the little icon, but you get a little background screen. So for someone like me who just loves 8-bit games, this as a 8-bit handheld, this could actually fit in your pocket. The Smart Pro, yeah, it was kind of big. It might go in a cargo pocket, but you could sneak this in the back pocket of your pants or on the inside of your jacket pretty easily. That's pretty nice. So during the last 48 hours while I was looking at this device, I did take some notes to kind of guide our conversation about why I'm enjoying this device. Remember, it comes with the Surwish CrossMix OS. That's what really gives this device its special features and punch. That was also the same OS that comes on the Smart Pro. And one of the main features of that OS is there's a top menu that gives you access to your favorites, your recent, your best games, your apps, your net play, and your settings. As a matter of fact, it's in that settings that you can connect this device to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Again, I really am enjoying the form factor more than I thought. Usually my hands get a little cramped when they're brought in together like this and bringing my wrists in together, but it has not really been a problem. I will admit though, I do prefer this form factor, but for a pocket device, this is quite good and a lot of fun. Also on the back, don't forget you have the shoulder buttons and you have 4 of them, so you really need to experiment with them. Based on the emulator, you will get some additional functions. I also like that the R1 and the L1 actually let you navigate across the top of the screen. Now, the other thing that is nice is I found sleep mode to be really great. So this device has been asleep since last night, and I've lost about 2% of battery life. Other cool things about this are we do have some volume settings, and under there we have volume control, we have background mode, but then we also have a rumble setting. The rumble, of course, doesn't work for every game, but it does include PlayStation support, PlayStation Portable support that includes rumble. While editing, I had a chance to play some, or try to play some PlayStation Portable games, but as you'll note, there are certain things I can't do, which for instance is make a selection without an analog controller. This D-pad by itself won't do it. So you are going to be limited. I would not count on this device for games that make extensive use of analog controllers. It has failed me on several games from the PlayStation world. It's been difficult to use games from the PlayStation 1, and then it's also been impossible to play games for the PSP. So stick to basic 8-bit, 16-bit games that do not require analog controllers. If you do want to play more advanced games, then make sure to check out the TrimUI Smart Pro. Again, I have a full video on this device. Check that out in the video description below. It also includes, as I mentioned during the unboxing, this RGB atmosphere lighting. That is found here, 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 and then really cool on the back. As for the hardware in this little device, we have a 300 milliamp, 5 volt, 2 amp battery optimized for that sleep mode that I just talked about. They claim about 5 hours of life. I believe that. After a long session last night, 5 hours seems about right. Inside, you'll find the Allwinner A133P running at 1.8 gigahertz. For the GPU, we have the Imagination Power VR GE8300 running at 660 megahertz. We have 1 gigabyte of RAM. We have an 8 gigabyte eMMC. We also have Wi-Fi Wi-Fi, as I mentioned, BG and N. We do have wireless Bluetooth 2.1. I have not tried to see if I could connect to wireless headphones, but we do have two 1-watt speakers with a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. For whatever reason, there is a mono microphone under here. Now, my unit came with the 256 gigabyte SD card, which included additional emulators and games, which is a nice addition. That is an option you can choose. You can go from 64, 128 to 256, and you have the option for the CrossMix OS or the stock OS for the TrimUI. You also have two USB ports. You have one on the bottom, and then you have one on the top. The bottom, you get charging and OTG functions, and on the top, you get a USB host. Take a USB-C cable, plug it into the bottom, and then under the apps area, use the USB storage application, and then you can do a file transfer. Wireless file transfer is also available via SFTP. Now, here are the features that make the CrossMix CrossMix OS a really fun ad. It's got plug and play with the 256 SD card. As you saw, I just plug it in, turn it on, it's ready to go. You don't have to do anything. The Mech DIY curated emulators and games list is really pretty good. Now, you're going to want to add some of your additional favorites. I'm sure they're not going to be on here, but it's a pretty good list of titles that really highlight the capabilities of this little device. I also like that the emulators have been optimized and configured with all the the BIOS you need to get all of your emulators working. That's a plus. And then you have the option for custom themes and configuration to really give it a visual look that appeals to you. I also love the autosave resume for gameplay. You start a game and then the next time you play it, it resumes where you left off. It's great when you have a Commodore 64 title, for instance. It takes a while to load because it is real-time loading like it would from a floppy. Next time you load it, it's back where it left off. You don't have to reload it. Now, if you like that loading experience, you can go back and start from scratch, though. And then I love it because it has 16,700 games with my favorite retro 8-bit systems. And let's take a look at a few of those 8-bit systems now. So one of the emulators I really gravitate towards too, of course, from my generation is the Atari 2600. And gameplay on the Atari 2600 is perfect. Games play, they're a little tiny on the screen, but man, they look really good. One of the things you'll miss as you play, especially Atari 2600 games, is trying to control those characters, especially on games like Pac-Man or some of those shooters, with your thumb. If you're used to the old traditional experience of using a joystick such as the CX40 joysticks, or in this case, I have a CX40 wireless I'm showing you here, which is going to be featured in a future video. So stand by for that and make sure you hit subscribe, like, and all that business down below. And hey, leave a comment on this video too if you're interested and want to know more about not only the CX40 Plus wireless joystick, but maybe that 70 Plus wireless joysticks for the 7800. The other one I love is that we also have the follow-ups to the 2600, the Atari 5200 and the Atari 7800, where that gameplay and those games are just enhanced visually and with better sound. And we also have an Atari 800, so we can play Atari 800 games on there. Very nice. But here's my favorite, the Commodore 64. And there are quite a few great titles in this Commodore 64 emulator. Some very common ones, some very popular ones. But again, this is just an emulator that is ripe for you to add your favorite titles. Paging over, we also find Coleco, which is a fun little system to play. DOS has a mixture of both 8-bit and 16-bit games, although they tend to be more 16-bit, so I'll kind of move on from that. I love the Game & Watch titles that are available. You also have a Mega Duck, but here's one I didn't have growing up, but the Intellivision, so I've had a chance to play and experience some of those Intellivision games. There's also MSX, and of course we have our favorite little portable handhelds, which the design of this device is inspired from the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Color. And of course, we have the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Nintendo 64, which is a little more advanced than what I'm looking at today. And then just a few follow-ups. You've got some game systems here. And then we get some modern game systems, which I'll leave to other YouTubers to review those since I'm focused on the 8-bit emulators on this device. And then as we scroll over, we have one more that is of interest to me, and that is the ZX Spectrum. What a great addition to have that. Now, some notable misses are, I would love to see the Commodore VIC-20. It may be possible to get that emulator configured on here. I'll have to take a look at it. And the way I would do that is connect to it and see if I can drop some VIC-20 games onto the SD card and see if it activates that particular emulator. May also need a BIOS file for that. I'll have to check that out. Now, not 8-bit, but very interesting is this area called videos. And I'm going to go ahead and show that to you because I was playing around last night and this was not expected. Let me go ahead and select that. If you look, it says TV. So we have English and French. So I'll pull up an English TV channel here. We're going to go to Bloomberg. And now I am connected to Wi-Fi, and it appears that they've set this up for a streaming channel. So on the go, you can watch Bloomberg Business Week. So I have to play with that and see what other streaming stations maybe I can add. I'll need to connect to my computer to see what the configuration, what those files look like. I'm sure it's just a standard file that's throwing in a stream URL, and that's how you could view it. Hopefully my video has piqued your curiosity about the TrimUI Brick. If you are interested in this device, be sure to check out the links in the video description below. I'll also have a discount provided for you, thanks to Mech DIY for providing that little discount code to you, my viewers. And again, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this one. I'm actually thinking about maybe a comparison between this one and this one. Why might you choose the Smart Pro over the Brick? Let me know if you're interested in that video. And be sure again to hit everything down below. But again, that subscribe button, it really means a lot when you subscribe to the channel. I'm really trying to get this channel to 1,000 folks. 1,000. I only need 1,000 folks. Do that for me and let me know that this channel is of value to folks out there as I review the latest tech. All right, that's it for me. retroCombs out.